It's Mark the Mazel here with a new live show a long time ago, as always. Um, as I'm very busy with investing with my ladies and my babies and other things, such as Roger Ver, trying to help him spread the word about his unjust prosecution. As you may have seen if you're following my X account, and reading a lot. That's what an investor does. And yeah, I would like to share my observations of the market and where I see big bubbles forming, and what I'm selling or not owning, and where I still see opportunities. So yeah, for me it's very clear that Bitcoin BTC is really a big bubble from different angles, but of course in the crypto cycle it's a bubble because, well, it has reached probably its peak in market dominance a couple months ago, around 60%. It dropped to 50%, and it will likely continue to drop as altcoins now are starting to steal the show and gain in value, in price, not only versus fiat but also versus BTC. I do think that's it has started and it's likely to continue. I do agree that actually markets are really bubbling. US stocks, the Magnificent Seven, and now also Tesla was lagging last year, but now thanks to Trump winning and Elon Musk not longer being under fire by the previous administration, and to the contrary, likely being in good regards with the new one, very good, as he helped Trump win the election. That really reflects also on Tesla valuation that has gone up from a low of at the election of the 5th of November, Tesla was 250, and now it's 460 1 month later, 1 month and a half maybe. So Tesla has catched up with the Magnificent Seven, and has now a return since the bottom of 2022, January 2023. Tesla bottomed around $150 and is now up 100 to 200%, 200 almost. Similar to Amazon, who's also up 200%. Some other Magnificent Seven stocks such as Microsoft and Apple have not done so well, 50% up only or 100%, but others like Nvidia has gone up 600% or so. So yeah, an average return of around 200% for these top 7 stocks about, and Tesla is now at that average. But yeah, if you look at valuation of US stock markets versus other markets, such as West Europe and emerging markets, it's actually an extreme valuation right now, and it's not even the whole US stock market, it's really the top companies. For example, Nvidia is worth more than the whole stock market of Germany. All companies combined in Germany are worth less than Nvidia. And if you look at the PE ratio of stocks, then actually of the S&P 500, then you see that we have only been one time higher, and that was the end of the 90s. This is a serious red flag. Like either earnings have to catch up, or multiples have to go down, or valuation versus earnings needs to go down. Unless we get another bubble like the end of the 90s, then it can go higher, but that's not probable. It's not probable because we also have a problem in the commodity sector. Like in the end of the 90s, commodities continued to go down. We're all gone down starting in 1980, 1981. Commodities went down in price up until the end of the 90s, and that allowed stocks to have another big growth at the end of the 90s, but that's not the case today. Commodities have gone up past few years, and gold is actually close to actually an all-time high, inflation adjusted. Like that's not adding up. One of them is wrong. It's either commodities that's wrong or it's growth stocks. Both of them cannot at the same time shine. Returns of so what I'm thinking is that I've always had that big question: are we in a commodity bull market or in a commodity bear market? Because stocks are inversely correlated, and I don't have an answer to that with any certainty, but I do give it a 50-50 chance that we're actually in a commodity bull market. And in that case, it's extremely likely that stocks will correct strong. However, if I'm wrong and we're still in a stock bull market, which I've always thought up until a year ago, I thought that we were still in a stock bull market. But if that's the case, then stocks will likely continue to do well, though it will broaden out the bull market. And next up are not the top 10 in the stock market. Not the best stocks will shine, but the second best stocks or the third best stocks, which is mid cap, small caps in the US, or emerging markets, or value stocks. Like these can still go up a lot, and have not seen a bubble and do not see extreme PE ratios. The stock market can broaden out to these assets, but it's really unlikely that the Magnificent Seven will continue to go up. And so I'm trimming my position. I've invested in one hedge fund. It's called Good Soil Investments from Emmett Peppers on X-Active, who is long, especially with call options Tesla. His fund has done very well, accelerated opportunities since the election. But I'm trimming that position because he has also invested in some other growth stocks. It's all call options, and he has also some puts on the general stock market as a hedge. Great fund, I would have, if you are a eligible investor, meaning you have a higher net worth than 1 million, you can invest in the fund. I'm not sure he's accepting new investors, but yeah, I can still recommend that fund, even though it's up now. I think it can still go up a lot more. Because like this is a real hedge fund. Like he okay, it's very volatile. Like I invested start 2023, the wrong timing, and I lost 90% of my investment in the fund. And then I invested some extra, and then it started to go up, but slowly in 2023. But now in 2024, it finally is taking off. But yeah, this can do a lot more. His track record has proven that. It's incredible actually, but it's very volatile. So I can still recommend that, and I think it's a better investment than actually crypto as a whole. Though there are still also opportunities in crypto, I believe, but certainly not in Bitcoin, BTC, or MicroStrategy. That's a gigantic bubble. Yeah, I think it's very misguided. But some currencies, I have some Bitcoin Cash. I also invest in Zano. Like this, a low market cap coin. It's worth 200 million. It's a privacy coin. It solves the real the promise of cryptocurrency is that you can do have privacy, huh? That you can pay other people in privacy. And these transparent blockchains, such as Bitcoin, BTC, Ethereum, but also Bitcoin Cash, like they don't solve that problem. Yeah, they can, like Bitcoin Cash as a mixing system, but it's not user friendly enough. I do believe the future is in privacy coins, where for every transaction you have privacy. Huh? There's no transparent blockchain where they can analyze your transactions. Huh? Of course, this technology is ever improving, but like if you want to be ahead of the curve, yeah, the next step is privacy coins. If you want more privacy for your payments and your assets online. So I see some opportunities in altcoins still, and I'm still invested. I've not sold any position. I did sell a little bit before the election. That was not the right time, but yeah, my exposure has actually not gone up because my growth stocks went up more. But they've done well, of course, and my portfolio as a whole has done extremely well since the election. I'm very happy with that. I feel fortunate. I did predict with you that and share it with you, my followers, that I think there was a good chance for Trump to win, and that it would indeed, the market would gap up if that would happen, and that did happen. But now we're getting to a point where I think people are too optimistic about the Trump presidency. There are clearly some problems also, like tariffs are not good. Like Trump is selling that as a solution. That's not the case. Tariffs are just taxes, and they benefit only the government, nobody else. And everybody ends up paying more as a consumer. And yeah, you can protect some industries in your country, but in the long term, the moment the tariffs are gone, you lose the industry. So it's an artificial protection, and I do not believe it's actually a solution. Though I do agree that moving taxes from, let's say, income tax to tariffs is an improvement, but even better is reducing taxes overall. And that's what Argentina does, Milei does. Like, he gets it. Trump, I don't think he fully gets it. Trump is a very good politician because he knows how to please different groups in society, but he's also pleasing the establishment, and that's how he has succeeded to win the election, by giving everybody something, but that includes the deep state. They also get something. And so, for example, his stance versus Israel is very pro Israel, and so like no problems will be solved there. America will continue to support this war or genocide that Israel is doing versus the Palestinians and other neighboring countries, and that's not okay, but that will remain during his presidency. Of course, certain promises will be disappointing, will not be realized, and people are not really seeing that yet. Like, the hope is too high for what he can realize. And so, yeah, I see bubbles there, and disappointments will come. And that's, and since, like, even in a stock bull market, even if we're in a bull market for stocks, like, strong corrections are part of that. That's not even a bear market, but shakeouts. Like, that's what I'm missing here. We've gone up for 2 years, and it's going parabolic now. That's typically where you get at least a shakeout. So a strong correction in Q1 of next year, I think, is likely. And then the question is, are we starting a bear market for stocks, and are commodities? Is it now the time of commodities afterwards, or does the bull market in commodities in stocks continue? That's not clear to me. But what I'm doing is, the profits that I'm locking in growth stocks now, Tesla, the hedge fund, I plan to invest in the commodity fund that I have, which is um, from H Cuppy, also active on X. He has a great commodity fund. One of his investments is Valaris, and I just studied that, and it's just incredible. It's an oil servicing company. I think they service oil equipment to mining rigs, and the P ratio is 3. The growth of the revenues is impressive, and the company is worth less than the replacement cost of the equipment. Yeah, that's interesting. That's a great investment. Compared to Tesla, for example. Like Tesla is a wonderful company. Elon Musk is a genius entrepreneur, but um, the only thing that's going well for Tesla right now is full self-driving, but it's not showing in the numbers. The technology has really gone to a level now where you can say, wow, that's a very impressive artificial intelligence. I'm really very excited about it, but it doesn't show yet in the numbers. Like people are not buying this FSD. Um, Tesla is not publishing these numbers, we don't know, but from the experts that I've analyzed, their impression is actually no, it's not really, people are not really buying yet FSD, and and Tesla is clearly not selling extra cars because it has FSD, like so. It will probably take another few years before that's really materializing into the numbers, and all the other stuff is not so great. Sure, Cybertruck is a fantastic car, but that's not gonna make or break the company. That's a luxurious product for just a very niche market. Um, uh, what they fail to do is introduce a new, cheaper model. They are supposed to introduce a model that costs $20,000 or $30,000. They fail to do that. Instead, they focus on the robotaxi, which is a long shot again. Like that's not materializing in increased amount of revenues, and that's missing here. Revenues have stagnated. Like revenue is supposed to continue to go up for a growth company, and it's been not the case the past 1 year or 2 years. Yes, the amount of units sold has continued to go up, but the revenues not, and that's not good. And then they come, instead of issuing and launching a new cheaper car, they launch the idea of a robot, of a droid. What's the name again? Okay, that may be a fantastic market, everybody their own robot in their house, but that's also a very long shot. Also, Tesla has indeed tenfolded twice. Once in 2012, once in 2019. In 1 year time, it tenfolds, and then it goes sideways for a long time. And yeah, it started to go up in 2019. It reached the top in 2021, so that was a 10x. But we're only 2024. We're 2 years further down the road, not 5, from the last 10x. So I'm not so sure that there is more room here. I don't think the probability is high Tesla will continue to go up. But okay, it can of course go still up a bit, but I see the max more like around 750. We're already at 460. Like it could peak out there, but it could equally start to go sideways or down from here. So I think it's a high risk to hold on to that right now. And it can go back to $200 the coming few years before it does another 10x to $2,000. Hi guys, welcome to my live show. I see some comments, I will take a look at it. Hi Warfield, nice to see you. Hi, Warfield says, nice that you're in Dubai. What do you think of the UAE so far? I like the UAE. Um, very impressive. So I went on the plane yesterday evening. The last few days I had pain in my teeth, but I know that I was in Switzerland. I didn't call a dentist. I know that in Belgium, if you call a dentist, it takes you 2 months. You have to wait 2 months to have a to be addressed to, because socialism. There are too many clients, too few dentists, because they ask too cheap prices, because the government sets the prices, and because people get back half or 80% of their visit. It's free dentists, but you have to wait 2 months or 3 months. That's the Netherlands is also like that. Canada is also like that. But in Switzerland, I still have to check how it works there. But here in Dubai, I come off the plane, say I have to wait anyway for my check-in. Let's call a dentist here. I could come immediately, and I'm landing at 8, and at 10 I leave the dentist. He already cleaned my teeth, and he replaced a broken filling. I think that's unbelievable. And the price I paid was 250. That's 60, 70 euro. And no insurance. That's just the real cost. I think that's Dubai. Dubai works, because it's built on capitalism, not socialism. And they're very smart in allowing. My dentist was not an Arab, it was an Indian guy, because the Indian guy from India, well, he can make more as a dentist in Dubai, but the moment he stops being a dentist, he needs to go back home. He cannot keep living here. And yeah, that's how it goes here. Yeah, I love the neutrality that Dubai is. Dubai is the Switzerland of today. It's neutral. Like, it's Russians are welcome, Americans are welcome, Chinese are welcome, Africans are welcome. Actually, I'm in Dubai because my African family can visit here. Do they have visa-free access? No, that would be better. But the application, the visa application process is via website. Usually they all get approved without much paperwork, without having to show bank statements, for example, or have too much interrogation. Because Dubai is very confident. Nobody is going to overstay their visa here, because you get kicked out if you do, and you cannot come back, and you get kicked out for real. Not like in Europe, where you can just, you overstay your visa, the police catches you in the street, detentions, likely will just let you go, because there's no room in the detention centers, in the deportation centers, and actually many countries don't deport yet. Some do, but it's on a case-by-case basis. But here it's very simple, just like in Japan, everybody out, that does not have papers. So yeah, with a strong borders and strong rule of law, you can build a prosperous country. Decentralized Dave, hi. He says, I'm in the middle of relocating from Slovakia to Czech Republic, because they introduced a new law in Slovakia to tax cryptocurrencies. Yeah. Taxes is a big problem in the West. Also, Dubai shines there. Taxes are low, and that attracts people. That's a real problem in many countries. Like Europe is still actually quite good, I would say, compared to America. Europe is a tax heaven. Okay, yeah, certain countries have high taxes in certain areas. Like you want to drink a beer in Norway, you pay triple the amount as elsewhere. Or you want to make an income in Belgium, you'll pay 60% taxes, or France sometimes also has very high income taxes. But certain other areas, there are no taxes. In Belgium, there's actually no capital gains tax. And there are many countries in Europe where you can actually get a very interesting tax. You have Andorra, you have Switzerland, you have Monaco, you have Malta. You have different kind of many kind of solutions where you can actually reduce your tax, because the moment you move to another country, you change tax system. So it's still quite good in Europe thanks to the competition between the countries, but the United States is a total disaster. That they tax people worldwide. Even when they move out of the country, they still tax liable, and that's really bad. So yeah, good for you that you're moving to reduce your taxes. I think that's very important. That you can live in a system where you feel like, okay, the money I make I can keep for myself, or at least the piece that I have to give is fair, it's reasonable. I think that's very important. And yeah, actually I was listening to Cuppy. They did a video on that, and one guy was saying, actually when you're young is the best time to do that, because actually the older you get, the harder it is to move country, or to renounce your citizenship that you have to do in the United States, because your connections to the country become deeper, and start family or have kids, and yet the moment your kids go to school somewhere, it becomes a lot harder to move. So yeah, actually, and it's a great investment. You don't need to have capital. Actually, it's better if you don't have capital often. For example, you want to get rid of your tax system in the United States. Actually, they have an exit tax that they are also now considering introducing in the Netherlands, and that's really very, like, that's 30% of your net worth. So if you own a company, you're forced to sell 30% of your company to be able to move out of the country, or to move out of the tax system. Very punitive. Canada has that too. Yeah, if you build capital, it's best to build it in where the taxes are already favorable, instead of starting to build it somewhere where taxes are punitive. Decentralized Dave asking, what is your opinion about timing the crypto market? When do you think the crypto top is in? Do you think it will top together with equities? Yes. Yeah, I made a post on that on Twitter using the Trollo chart, and I think that you cannot just look isolated to crypto. You have to look indeed at the broader market, because the moment stocks crash, crypto crashes with it. But yeah, I think crypto can still move up a lot, while the stocks go up a little bit more. Yeah, we're coming now in a more risky environment, but typically at the end of the bull market, that's also where most gains are made in the most absurd and high risk investments. And we clearly start seeing that in crypto with Fartcoin. Like, it's a new kid on the block. It's not Dogecoin now, it's Fartcoin. That creates the headlines, because yeah, it's absurd. And you will see the same in the AI sector, in the stock market, or in Bitcoin even. Like Bitcoin now in the stock market, people start to, like, it's just like, if you put AI in your story as a company, you go up in value. If you put that you're also a Bitcoin hodler, if you have Bitcoin on your balance sheet, that also will pump your stock. And so you see companies do these things, and that's just bubble. That's a clear indication of a bubble. that's just hype, huh? And that will sooner or later collapse, huh? And so you're already in valuations there where it's extremely likely that you will be able to buy this in the future at the same price or lower, the Bitcoin BTC then, huh? But yeah, I think in altcoins, yeah, Zano went up a lot. I started talking about this around $3 a half a year ago. It's already at 12 now. I've built my position over time, but yeah, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, of course. I agree there with Sonny Mulder. Can still double from the 4,000 to 8,000, but that's likely going to be the peak, and that can already happen in a couple of months. And well, all other altcoins will peak out around the same time. We'll have to see. I'm not selling crypto yet, but I'm also not adding to my position anymore. The profits I'm able to lock in now for growth stocks, I'm considering, like, should I buy some more crypto? But yeah, I think it's wiser of me to invest. I did that a little bit, but yeah, I think time has come to invest in something else and just let it ride for now, crypto. But anyone that has Bitcoin BTC, it's so, or MicroStrategy, you need to sell that. That's very clear for me. Decentralized Dave says, you're talking about Tesla right now. My take is the stock likely makes another parabolic move only once the robots start hitting the markets, possibly years away. I agree with that. Hi Equalizer, how are you? I know you divested from NXT. In retrospect, do you regret not investing in Ethereum instead? Also, what do you think of NXT or Order now? Yes, indeed, I've mentioned that many times, that was one of my big mistakes, investing in NXT instead of Ethereum. I had the chance to invest in the ICO of Ethereum. I consciously decided not to do so. At the same time, I had the chance to invest in IOTA, in the ICO of IOTA. I also refused that, and I actually really considered investing in these things for a considerably large amount. Decided not to do that. Instead, I decided to add to my position of NXT. Like, these are the kind of, like, massive differences in wealth that can cause such stupid moves. I could have been a billionaire, but I have instead I lost it all. These are the kind of moves. So yeah, from that I learned you need to really you need to spread a little bit, like, you need to realize that you don't really know which one will succeed, and you should invest a little bit in the other one also that you don't believe so much in, but it could also work out and yours could fail. So if possible, diversify a little, and also do not sell it off. That's also something I'm learning. Like, you shouldn't cut winners too aggressively. Yes, you can trim profits, but you should not go aggressive in selling. So that's why, for example, now in the hedge fund that's doing very well because it has calls on Tesla and some other growth companies now pumping. Like, in the past I would have sold more aggressively, but now I'm just selling like 20% of the position, even though I think it's likely already topping out. I don't do that because markets always surprise to the upside and downside. You can't really imagine how extreme things will become. But if you have a disciplined selling and buying approach of selling in steps or buying in steps, then you will also buy the bottom and you will also sell the top. But you will sell before and after also, and you will also buy before and after. I'm not talking about index investing here. No, I'm talking about of trying to buy value low and trying to sell bubbles high, but in steps. That's what I've learned, because I failed so badly selling the top last time, that I cannot like stick to. I cannot be trying to time these things too much. But for me, crypto is clearly not a sell yet, because on the Trololo chart, altcoins are still seriously undervalued. Like, so I cannot sell it. I've sold a little bit, but that was a mistake, and I shouldn't do it. I sold a little bit because of, yeah, I didn't believe in those positions that I had. There was some there were some meme coins, but actually I shouldn't have done it, because altcoins are in serious undervaluation. You can keep the crap even. You have to keep even the things you don't believe in. It's not a time to sell that yet. But the moment we go to fair value, and that's a 4x from here for altcoins, yeah, then of course you can trim and start selling. Rudolf on minima. For your teeth problem, there's a good one in Dubai. Yeah, already was fixed, thank you. Warfield, do you consider any meetups? Yes, maybe I will. It would be nice to meet some people. I'll consider it. Keep an eye on my X account for any announcements. Monero XMR, how are you? Hi, Mark. He says, long time no see. I hope you and your family are okay. Yes, we're doing very well. We'll be meeting here in Dubai, all my family, and I'm very happy with that, because it's very hard to bring together everyone with all these visas and residence permits. But yeah, my 3 girlfriends will be together here, and my kids, and yeah, it's a dream come true for me. And of course, very happy the markets are doing well. A year ago, 2 years ago, I thought that it would take a very, very long time to rebuild myself, given that I had lost 90%. But yeah, now, thanks to the last few months, markets went up a lot. I'm just so surprised and happy that I'm back in the game, that I'm making money again, and yeah, feel very fortunate and thankful, because nothing is sure in this life, and I placed my bets and it panned out, because there was a chance Trump would lose also, or things can happen that you don't expect. Indeed, also Decentralized Dave has a good YouTube channel, talks about that, black swans. Yeah, like the war could escalate with Russia into a nuclear war. In Israel, they can start a nuclear war there also with Iran. All these things can really dump the market hard, and that could also happen. Or who knows what they have, what kind of false flags they're about to launch. I never expect something like COVID to happen. Who knows? Maybe do or 9/11. You don't expect these things, but suddenly it happens. And the markets collapse, and you didn't see it coming, and because you didn't see it coming, you also do the wrong moves then, because you panic. All these things can happen. I think Monero is also an interesting opportunity, actually. I've kept an eye on it. It has gone down to the 50th market cap spot, 50th spot. It really has done very badly in the start of this bull market. I think it's around 200 now. The bottom was 150. Yeah, I mean, it's barely up from the bottom. In contrast to, for example, Ethereum is ×4 now from the bottom. Bitcoin Cash is also ×5 now from the bottom. But Monero not at all. So I think there's still an opportunity there, because this is one of the few coins that actually get used as a currency. If you look at approach cryptocurrencies as a value investor, it's a very different approach, and then you can see that actually very few coins that actually have intrinsic value. If you look at like where is the value coming from a currency, it's actually not from the amount of people that invest in it. because these are fleeting users. They only come because the price goes up, and they will go away again when the price goes down. Their only goal is to make money off the capital appreciation. But they will tell themselves all kind of beautiful stories that no, it's not about that, but it's about that. But people that use the currency, they are in it for more. They are in it for its usability, as to it allows them to make payments that they couldn't do otherwise, because it gives them privacy, or because they can buy stuff with it they can otherwise not buy with it, and it has real value for them, more than just the capital appreciation. It has real usefulness for them. And so even when the value goes down, they will continue to hold it and use it, because they need it. And that's what cryptos miss so much. Also, Bitcoin Cash, I made a presentation on the Congress in Argentina. I visited there, and I made you could see it. I shared it on my X. But yeah, my case was that really Bitcoin Cash is a problem in adoption. It really needs to find a use case where you need Bitcoin Cash for something and you can't do it with any other coin, and it really is something that you, and that's not brick and mortar stores. Like, that's really a failed strategy, I believe, for Bitcoin Cash. It really needs to find another use case. That's a real problem for Bitcoin Cash. But Bitcoin Cash is still a good investment because, well, the story about Bitcoin being hijacked is getting out. Like, yeah, many people like to fool themselves, but when you study it, you can see, like, that's not Bitcoin. BTC is not what it was intended to be. It was a peer-to-peer cash system, and it's not. It's been hijacked because that's not what it is anymore. It's now a store of value. It's supposed to be gold, and you're supposed to not use it for payments, but that's not what it is. It's supposed to set people free financially, that they have their own money, that they can, money that they own themselves, that they cannot be taken away from them by a bank going broke. But most people that hold Bitcoin actually now hold it via third parties. Like, they will lose it when the exchange goes broke, or when MicroStrategy goes broke, they lose their Bitcoin. That's not the idea. And they don't use it for payments. They don't use it to make investments. They don't use it to buy coffee. They don't use it to as gifts even. To their family. They just buy it and hold it. Like, that's not a currency. So yeah, I'm very misguided, and we've seen it before in the dot-com bubble. You know the story, how the leaders of the dot-com bubble were actually the losers in the end. And that really is the same here in crypto. Decentralized Dave is asking, Mark, do you think inauguration of Trump is sell the news event? That's a good thought that you have there, Decentralized Dave. That could indeed be the sell the news event. That's the end of January. That's still a month away. At the speed we're going, markets could be even higher than, considerably higher, and that could be a sell the news event indeed. Yeah. Or maybe a month later, once it becomes clear that actually some of these things Trump is doing is not so good as we thought it was. Equalizer is asking, do you still keep in touch with Tyson? He's building a monster mansion in Vietnam. That's great to hear. No, I'm not keeping in touch, but I do see his videos passing by sometimes. I thought it was interesting. He was sharing, was it on X, that he's starting to trim his crypto. And I thought that was, well, good, because indeed crypto as a whole has gone up well. But then he said, and so he's selling the losers and keeping the winners, and he's keeping Bitcoin BTC and selling his altcoins. Then I thought, no, not good. I also quoted him. I said, yeah, move, the first move genius, second move retarded. He didn't respond to that. I don't think he liked it. Susha, but good to hear he's doing well, and he's building a beautiful house in Vietnam. Susha says, hey Mark, I've been a follower for a while now, 3 to 4 years. But what surprised me more about you is how composed you remain after losing that percent from your portfolio. Can you expand in that mentality? Yeah, well, I had a very hard time with that losing. Like in the beginning, when you lose 50%, you're like, yeah, everything is fine, everything is fine. We're still in a bull market. But when it goes to 70%, you're like, what the fuck? Did I overlook something? And then you realize maybe I'm wrong, and then you go to 90%, and then you're like, oh my god, I really screwed it up. And then you go to 95%, and you think, I'm gonna lose everything here. So how I deal with that is I start binge eating a lot. I gained some kgs from that, and I'm absent for my family because I'm just stressed and reading and studying and just trying to understand what I did wrong and learning. That's how I deal with that the best. Actually, is just trying to face the truth, like where did I go wrong, what did I do wrong, and take responsibility. That really solves the stress also, because instead of feeling bad about yourself, and just you start to feel better because you say, okay, I did this wrong, and that makes you feel better. Instead of denying, it's admitting. Yeah, that's really how I was able to go through it. But at the same time, also being very, very conscious, like, oh my god, like, for example, I still had leverage even at the bottom, and the reason was that that means I still had a crypto loan. I had forced to scale it down because I was margin called many times, and so I lost a very big piece of my crypto because I got many margin calls. But I said, like, there's no point, like, of course everything in my body screamed like, okay, that was so wrong, you should never have done that. But is it now the right time to sell, to pay down the loan? No. Like, we're likely at the bottom here, everybody is negative. I have to keep the loan on, even though I really don't want to. Like, I should have some leverage because, well, I paid the price. I can as well also reap some rewards from it. But that was very difficult, and I was, of course, very quick to, the moment Ethereum went up from 1,000 to 2,000, then I just paid off that loan, and I said never again. Yeah, it's difficult. But yeah, you learn the lesson from it, and that's why now my portfolio, in compared to previous bull markets, I went always 80% into crypto. This time, no, only 50%, 40%, 50%, and I wanted some other investments also. I had growth stocks, and actually the growth stocks doing better now than my crypto, so that was a good move. But I also had some others that don't do as well. I had commodity fund, but it's not been doing well. So you could say that's a lost opportunity, but it's not, because it's a preparation for the future. That's where I look in my profits, because it's a really inverse correlated investment, not like my short on gold that I had at the time and I thought was an inverse correlated investment. It was just wrong. It was not inverse correlated. It was actually totally correlated. But now I have a long on commodities, not a short, and that is indeed, of course, it can all together crash, but over a 3 years to 5 years, commodities are always inverse correlated to stocks. So it is a good diversification. And I have some other investment, micro cap stocks. I have one fund that I also recently added. It's a micro cap fund, hedge fund. But like, this is like, these guys are really focused on, there's really experts in the micro cap, and they can make money in different kind of market, and I like that. I'm also studying Argentina. It's also a very different story. Argentina is a real opportunity, because if you liberalize an economy, you reduce regulations, reduce taxes, that will boost the economy. It doesn't matter where you do that in the world. If you convert from socialism to capitalism, that will boom the economy. That's a story you can invest in. That's independent from secular stock bull market, or is it secular commodity bull market. That's independent from that. That's not correlated. Yes, in the long term. In the short term, it is correlated. Argentina stocks have boomed a lot. I missed the opportunity. They're just exploding together with US stocks. But yeah, I'm looking there at commodity opportunities now. Yeah, farmland there is still very cheap. Farming, meat producing cows, or just land speculation. These are the things I'm looking at now, because these are very different investments. In Africa and Kenya, you also, real estate is interesting also. You have a 10% rental return. 10%, that's high, like that's totally different than real estate in the West. Net, after expenses, after taxes, for land, for example, in Nairobi, you buy a building there, you have a 10% return. A rental building, 20 apartments, 30 studios. Yeah, you pay low amounts, you have a high return. These are interesting investments. And that's how you. That's what I've learned from losing 95%. Like, yeah, it's time to broaden out a bit, and diversify the portfolio into different kind of investments, different kind of opportunities that are not all so correlated. Hi Crypto Sebastian. Yeah, I already said that, Crypto Sebastian, when I predict the top. Please rewatch the video then. But I think it will be somewhere together with the stock market. I think it's coming up soon, but I could be wrong. At least a serious correction I expect in the stock market in 2025 Q1. So February, March. I think that's most probable. And then after that, I'm not sure if it will continue or not. But clearly, P ratios are very high. Rewatch the video. And also check out the video of what's his name again? I just shared it yesterday on my X, that I really love this guy, his videos. But yeah, he called the bottom very good 2 years ago, and he's now saying he's basically really advising to sell now. And he's also bearish about Tesla. I like that. He was very bullish about Tesla before, but he's not selling everything. But I think he's trimming. That's the wise thing to do. Do you think it's a good idea to go short on that dino coins like EOS and IOTA at the beginning of a bear market to make money on the way down? No, because shorting is not a good instrument. Like, it's shorting is the same as a bad loan. It's the same as taking a loan, a crypto loan, or a collateralized loan against your stocks of your company. These are all bad loans, because you're forced to pay back the loan the moment the value of your asset goes the wrong direction. In the case of all these collateralized loans, it's like, when your collateral goes down in value, now suddenly you have to pay off the loan, and your collateral just went down in value. That's a bad loan. The same as a friend saying, hey, I'm gonna borrow you money, but the moment your business goes bad, you have to pay it back. Yeah, that's not the right time to pay it back. But that's exactly what it is, leverage. When you take a loan from your stockbroker, that's exactly what it is. He's gonna force you to pay back even when your business goes bad. And shorting is exactly the same. Yeah, you don't have to pay back as long as things go down. But the moment it goes up, you get a margin call, and you need to pay up, huh? But you just lost money, and yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. No, it's tempting sometimes to short, huh? But you have to just say no, huh? And when you say no, then you just look for other opportunities. There are always other opportunities to go long on, huh? Where you don't have to say, hey, can I borrow this or can I borrow that? No, you buy something, huh? And you hold it, huh? And it's from you, because that's what shorting is. You borrow, huh? The only loan that I can support is a loan that cannot be called, huh? And that's real estate loans. If you can get a mortgage, if your house drops 50% in value, you will not be called on the mortgage, huh? Because banks don't call the loan in, huh? So that's a good loan. And yeah, you can only get that for real estate in some countries, huh? And then I would say yes, but otherwise no. That's also what I learned from losing 95%. Equalizer asking, how did your fried shipping trade go? I never invested in fried shipping, but I invested in oil tankers, huh? That ship oil around the world. I sold that too early. It was very foolish of me because that was actually an inverse correlated investment. I had that I bought it after the COVID, 2020. Oil went very cheap then. I invested in oil tankers, also in crypto and Tesla. And crypto Tesla did very well, but then these oil tankers were slagging. So I ended up selling them in 2021 or so. And instead I went short on gold. So instead of being long commodities, which was oil tankers were a long trade on commodities, I went short on gold, short commodities, and that was a disastrous move because actually in 2022 then crypto collapsed, my Tesla collapsed, growth stocks, but also what went up were oil tankers because the war in Russia started, gold went up, oil went up, and oil tankers did well too, but I didn't have them anymore. Instead, I was losing money now because I was short gold. So I was losing on every position. That's how I got into a 90% loss after 1 year. Yeah, so I went through the questions. We're already 1 hour in. Yes, what do you think about LTC? Asked Marvin, and didn't really answer the question. Do you think LTC? Yeah, that's just an altcoin, a Litecoin. I don't think these are good investments because there's no active development or very little. Like it's already hard enough to make it in the world when you work hard on something. Then still chances are you're going to succeed is low. But if you don't work hard on something, like chances are zero. And that's the case with all these altcoins that are losing their development teams. That's why I never believed in Dogecoin, because that's not being developed. And yeah, Elon Musk, he's gone. If you haven't seen it yet, he replaced the Doge with another meaning. That means that it's over. I don't think he'll be back for Dogecoin. So the meaning of Doge is now to reduce the government spending. It's a good initiative. I hope he succeeds in that. But I think it will be mixed results. What happened last time was that the Trump presidency had also Elon Musk at the table in the beginning. they were going to change things, and Elon Musk, he left the team after, I don't know, 1 year or 2 years, because yeah, Trump did something that he didn't like. Was not green enough, Trump. I think that was it. And Elon Musk was still green in 2017. So they parted ways. Like, I'm very positive and very happy Trump won, and it was really necessary, and it went really the wrong way with the Democrats and the wokeness and also the prosecutions. Just that terrible, and Roger Ver is a victim of that also now. What a corrupt Department of Justice they have in the United States. Jailing people with false accusations, like it's like Africa. I thought that these things happen in Africa, that you prosecute people for what they stand for, and you make some false accusations because they're basically competition. But that's happening in the United States now more and more. That really need to stop, and I think with the Trump presidency win, the elections will be more fair, and the media will be less biased, and the justice system will be more fair. Like, I do think it's certainly a step in the right direction, and Elon Musk saw how important that was, and he did very well, going all in on that to save his own companies and his own dreams. It was really necessary. But yeah, you should also keep your eyes open for like, it's not all rosy and shiny. There are negatives also. Equalizer asking, are you looking for more girlfriends now, or are you maxed out? I have 3 girlfriends. I'm maxed out because my 3rd girlfriend is not happy with the amount of attention I give her. So I can say that I'm maxed out. That doesn't mean I'm not watching, of course. I'm only a mortal man. I can't help myself to see a pretty girl when I see one. But to invest the energies to expand my empire, no. No, it's a consolidation time, not expansion time. Also the kids, 6 kids now, much fun, but they also don't get enough attention from me. So I need to also there, organize myself better. The problem is I'm still working a lot also. That's really something that I should really force myself to do. Less working, less reading about the markets, less watching YouTube videos about the markets, more exercising. I don't exercise. More attention for my ladies and babies, quality time. So no, I'm not planning to expand the amount of ladies, but the amount of babies I still hope to expand, actually. But the ladies cannot keep up. They say no more, except the new one. Sucha, hi Sucha. He says, any thoughts on China? I'm heavy Baba. Baba is what's the name of that company again? Baba. China, I'm very conflicted about. Like, on the one hand, there's so much positive about the country. On the other hand, there's so much negative about the country, and but valuations are low. It's certainly an opportunity, yes. Especially, I would say, the electrical cars there. It's clearly they're just taking over the world markets. These cheap electrical cars they're producing of 10,000 euro a pop. They just have 10-20 electrical car companies. They're just taking over the market, yeah, it's very clear. In 10-20 years we will see lots of Chinese cars, and these European and American brands are gone, gone, except for Tesla, Rivian, and maybe BMW. Maybe there's one that can save themselves, but they need to really do something drastic now because they're really screwing it up very badly. I don't see them surviving. It will be a slaughter. So China is really out competing strongly in that area, and yeah, stocks are interesting, but the problem is the Communist Party. Dictatorships, they are not proven. They're just not so competitive. There's more terror, less freedom of speech. There's also like more prosecution. Like it's not a free country. Even you become a billionaire in China, you know your life and your belongings and your family is at risk. And so you continue to see a flight of capital and of people from China, and that's because of the dictatorship. They need to change that into a democracy. Democracy has certainly many negatives. You can see with us. There are a lot of bad things when the majority, and that includes all women, that includes all poor people. They make bad decisions and they vote the wrong politicians, and that's true. And a well-run dictatorship is better than a poorly run one. Here in Dubai, it's a dictatorship. It's well-run, so it does a lot better than a democracy. But the problem with dictatorship, sooner or later, some idiot comes into power and he ends up destroying the economy and killing off the people. And in China, it's somewhere in between. They used to have a very good dictator in the 80s, 90s there, that opened up the market. But then after that, with the current one changing the rules, now it's its third term, dictator for life. And he's clearly like, no. He's, instead of opening the country, yeah, certain areas they do very well. Like worldwide, they just like, they help so many countries with not only the trade. They are the biggest trading partner of almost all countries in the world now. USA lost that position. Most countries buy the majority of their goods. That includes cell phones, TVs, but even cars, toys. Like it's from China, and so they create much wealth. But also they invest their money into all these countries. In Kenya, for example, they invest in harbor, in highways, in railroads. And they just get loans from China, or there's a deal where they can run it for 30 years and then it goes back to the Kenyan government. Or they make their money, but at the same time they're also building something in those countries, and they're geniuses. And they do that in many countries. They are very entrepreneurial people, the Chinese. So yeah, lots of positive, but also lots of negative. COVID, pandemic. They started it and they finished it too. They kept this going for like 2 years, 3 years, while the rest of the world was tired and had opened their economies again. The Chinese were still stuck in their apartments. Just total terror. So yeah, mixed thoughts. But Baba, I don't know. Baba, actually, that's the one that they actually kidnapped the CEO, and he's gone. He's still alive, but it's now been turned into a state company. I would not invest in a company that's run by politicians. So no, Baba, I wouldn't keep that one. But there are many other Chinese companies that are probably good investments. Hi, LA Matt Witch, how are you? Let me see if there's any posts on Twitter that I should check. Okay, I'm back. So, what else can we talk about, guys? Did I discuss everything I want to say? Let me show you around here. It's very beautiful here. Who knows this building? very, very fancy. Yeah? Warfield says, will you get a golden visa in Dubai? No. The problem with Dubai is that you can only get a residence permit, but not a citizenship, and that's not worth it, I believe. Um, um, like, if I like, it's a citizenship that's of value, except when the citizenship comes with obligations that are not valuable, such as worldwide taxation for the US citizenship, or yeah, you can have also forced military conscription. Like, that's also not desirable. But most citizenships only have positives and no negatives, because if you don't live in the country, you're not tax liable, and even if they start a war and you don't live in the country, you're actually not expected to come and fight for them. So you have the advantages of having a backup citizenship or backup passport that you can go, that allows you to travel visa free to certain countries, and that allows you to go live there if it's necessary. And it is a right to live there. It's not a permission to live there, it's a right. And so yeah, I'm interested in, I think there are much more interesting opportunities than a residence permit in Dubai. Like, Dubai is not a place to live, actually. I think it's a place for holiday and to meet up, but to live, half of the year is too warm, you can't come out. The other half of the year is now, when it's winter, then it's nice weather, but you're forced basically to not be here during the summer because it's desert temperature of 40 degrees, even up to 50 degrees Celsius. And the problem is also you cannot make that your home. Like, you're living in a Muslim country that just tolerates you. They are not gonna live the Western lifestyle that you love so much anytime soon. You're welcome here to spend your money, but you're not welcome here to make it your home. They're very clear about that. So you're not welcome. Really. You can get a residence permit. Yes, you have great services, but it's not like they are not interested to accept to transform into a multicultural society. And so if you're a white guy, it's very unlikely, even if you would decide to live here 10 years, 20 years and build a family here, and that your kids will actually stay living here. That's not likely. I think. I could be wrong about that, but unless you really integrate, and that means you need to learn Arab, you need to convert to Muslim, and you really become part of the society, then your kids also, then yes, but your kids will stay here, but that's not what you want to do. So I think other countries are a lot more interesting. Latin America, Argentina now, of course, Panama. These countries, you can get a residence permit there, but you can also, just by getting a residence permit, get the citizenship after a few years. In Argentina, it's only after 2 years you can already get the citizenship. In Panama, it's after 5 years or 7 years, depends from country to country. And you belong there. Like, you it's a white culture, and it's a Western culture, and you don't have to convert to Muslim. You can remain Christian, or you can remain atheist, and your children will likely, of course, you need to learn Spanish, yeah, but that's all, nothing more, huh? And yeah, you'll be one of them, huh? That's not the case in many other countries. In Japan, even when you learn the language, you'll never be one of them, huh? And except when you mix with the Japanese, your children will stay there. But if you stay with your chick, your white chick, or your black chick, there's no chance that you would be able to keep living in Japan, and that your kids would stay there, because they would never feel home, huh? Because you're not considered one of them, huh? And even when you mix with a Japanese woman, huh, you're still not considered one of them, huh? Your kids are considered, well, mixtures, huh? So yeah, that's the attractive thing about the United States, and that it still has going for it, actually, is that like when you move there, you're one of them, and it doesn't matter what race you are, huh? There is some racism, of course, huh? Like, of course, it's best to be white, huh? But if you're black or you're Asian, you can also really become one of them, and you can even flourish, huh? You can become rich, you can climb the highest ladders in society and politics or business, huh? And that's actually the only country in the world where that's the case, huh? So the American dream, part of that is still true, huh? Yeah, but yeah, they've become too imperialistic, huh? And so that's why I sometimes think about that, huh? Emigrating to the United States, but then I say no, because for the taxes, huh? That's really the biggest problem, I would say. And then also, like, yeah, the imperialism, they're really not doing a good job running the world, huh? They do too much evil around the world. Their foreign policy, Syria just fell as a country, huh? A whole country destroyed, huh? Also due to America and what it chose to do there, huh? It's also responsible, huh? It was a Christian country, huh? And now the Muslims rule there, huh? And they get slaughtered, just like it happened to the other neighboring country not so long ago. Was it Lebanon? Got wiped out also, huh? Like, foreign policy of America is really bad. They brought many countries into poverty, actually. In contrast to the Chinese, they actually help countries become rich. But America, they destroy countries, huh? Left and right, huh? Warfield says 2 million AED, that's 500k US dollar, will provide you with an Emirates ID and a local bank account and a visa for 10 years. Yes, and you think that's a good deal? He says that's the golden visa in Dubai. Okay, but a visa for 10 years, and what then? What after it? Huh? Yeah, I don't think that's a good deal, actually. Warfield says, which tax reasons have you set up for yourself personally, if you don't mind sharing? Yeah. Let me think about that, if I want to share that, huh? Yeah, I think for me what's important is it needs to be real, huh? And like taxes is not only about um, paying little taxes. It's also about do you want to live there? Because if you can't fake it, you have to actually live there, huh? And therefore you need to like the country also, huh? And then the choices are a lot less, huh? Than what's available on paper, huh? For me, for example, yeah, you have many islands that have low taxes, but do I want to live on a tropical island? No. Why not? Because I like city life. Right? I like to go to a good restaurant. I like to have activities for my kids to do and for my girlfriends. Um, City life offers so many things that are practical and that you don't have in the countryside. Huh? Um, so once you shop off all these islands, yeah, not so much remains. Huh? But there are some. Huh? What I also like very much is well, of course, you have lump sum taxation deals in Europe. You have that in Switzerland, in Italy, and there you agree with the government that you pay a fixed amount of taxes per year, and that will cover all your tax duties. Huh? But that's only available for foreigners that do not live in that country and that are willing to move there if they get a tax agreement. Huh? And the lump sum means you pay a lump sum of taxes every year, the same amount, and it doesn't matter how much income you have, it remains the same. Huh? I think that's a very interesting arrangement, and yeah, I like that. I hope that answered your question a little bit. Yeah, my micro caps have really not. That's the one thing in my portfolio that's not done well. I follow Marius, the YouTube channel. Yeah, and those stocks have not done well. I've shared my MDM portfolio from time to time, and you can see them there. And I also invest actually in a microcap fund, and it also has not done well yet. So that's still an opportunity, I think. But especially the commodity fund is actually a big opportunity, I believe. It has done poorly because microcaps are up somewhat, but that commodity fund not. I invest in that for a year now. It's actually down 5% or 10% for the year. Run by H Copy. I can really recommend that if you're looking for a good opportunity. And of course, Argentina, also real estate in Kenya. There's still opportunities, but it's not in Bitcoin, BTC, and it's not in MicroStrategy, and it's not in growth stocks, the Magnificent Seven, including Tesla. I do not believe it's there anymore. And actually, many of the stocks in the US stocks are severely overvalued. No, I don't believe it's there. European stock market is relatively cheap, but I've not studied it. Yeah. Warfield says the good judgment and points about United Arab Emirates. I live here and agree with your statement about Dubai. Do you think it's better to travel between multiple homes or live in a certain location most of the time? Yes, I really like the idea of having multiple homes. I think that comes natural when you have wealth. I mean, of course, some don't do that, like Warren Buffett or Steve Jobs. They always lived in the same place, totally focused on work. But I really like, and most rich people will have a holiday home somewhere, where they go then, and then they have maybe the city home, and that's normal, because that's a good life. But why have the holiday home in the same country? Actually, that's not smart. Like, it's better to have it in another country where you can have a different passport, and it can be also a backup. In case they start a war in your home country, you can actually go live in the other country and not be in a war zone. Or in case they jack up taxes in country A, you can simply move to the other country with the right to move because you have the passport already. Like that's a much wiser approach. So, and yeah, if you're very rich, you can go further than 2 homes. You could have 3 homes, in 3 different places. And the way the rules are set up is that, as long as you don't stay 6 months per year in one country, you actually do not become tax liable. And therefore, if you stay 4 months in a country, you're safe. And 4 times 3 is 12 months. So you could live 4 months in 2 countries and not be tax liable. And the other country, you're staying 6 months or 7, and that's where you're tax liable. Yeah, that seems a good setup for me. And then in the 2 countries where you stay 4 months, you build up, you're a resident, but not a tax liable resident, which allows you to build up the years necessary to get the citizenship. Depends from country to country. Sometimes you do have to be a tax resident, but then it's a territorial tax system, such as in Latin America, I believe, many countries, Panama, Argentina, I believe also. It's a tax hell. Some of these countries, you have to be very careful. But if you set it up wisely, you can set it up so that your tax obligation is not high, but you are building up the years of residency to become a citizen. That makes sense to me. But it's all lots of work, and if you have the money, you can just buy these things also, and that's actually not a bad idea. Actually, usually it's the same as buying a second-hand home or an old home to restore. What's the best thing? Buy a new home or an old home to fix it up? Well, usually it's just buy the new home and pay the extra money, because the fixer up gonna cost you a lot more time than you expect. It's the same with these residence and citizenships. If you try to do it the cheap way, you can really end up costing a lot of time or more money than expected, or the programs disappear after a while, or there are extra conditions that you didn't foresee, or the lawyer fees pile up over the years. I have some bad experience in these things, you can also just buy them, and that's why these Caribbean citizenships are actually very attractive. The economic citizenships, where you just pay 100, 200, 300,000 US dollar, and you get for you and your family the passports after a half a year or a year paperwork, and you have and you're sure you're gonna have the citizenship, and you're sure you're gonna have it fast, and that's very valuable. And some of these programs work also where you can actually invest in real estate, and you do get actually Turkey. I've seen you'd invest in real estate $500,000, but you actually do have the passport in 1 year. That's quite impressive, and you have some overpriced real estate as well. But at least you have some overpriced real estate. If you just buy the passport outright, you have only the passport and nothing else. Lots of opportunities there. I think it's interesting. Warfield is asking, and nice to see you, Warfield. It's been a long time, and thank you for the great questions. What about owning real estate or renting? Is the best option for liquidity and most network tied to crypto assets, which provides freedom, or owning a house gives a certain amount of control security. I've not yet invested in real estate myself. At yes. Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would like that. Yeah, I will take two. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I got some olives here. Um, Real estate buying, I've not done it yet, but I'm really considering doing it now. But I'm doubting, huh? But it's also something that I realized when losing 90%, like I should also have some kind of things like cars and house or houses, like a few assets that are already mine and give me some kind of security, a little bit more feeling of security, huh? That you have your basics covered and paid for, huh? I never liked that. I want to have all my capital work for me in the markets, and then when you make the financial calculation, yeah, it makes no sense to invest in real estate in the West, huh? When you have a rental return of 1 or 2 or 3%. Why like you pay only, when you rent, you pay only 2% of the value of the property, is less than the interest you pay on a mortgage, and you have to the opportunity cost is lost, huh? Like you have a high opportunity cost when you invest in the real estate. All the money that's in there, you cannot invest in the markets. So that's why I never did it. But actually, from a financial perspective, if you can get a fixed interest rate loan for a long duration, like in Switzerland, for example, I discovered you can get still a fixed mortgage, fixed interest of 2% per year, fixed for 20 years. These are sweetheart loans. Huh? They are still available today. Huh? Yeah, in that case, actually, real estate can still be a good investment, huh? In the West, huh? Because, and you can borrow 80% of the property, so you only have to put 20% in, and so your opportunity cost is not so high, huh? But of course, most Western countries don't offer these kind of sweetheart loans anymore. But in Europe, actually, you still have 3%. You still have 3% in the eurozone for 20 years. Also, like, it has gone down again. It's only in the United States that has gone up a lot, and it's still quite high. But it's always been a little bit higher in the United States. But yeah, realizing that the only good loans that you can have in life is mortgages, and there are still some sweetheart loans available, and like fiat will continue to go down in value, that's a sure thing. And yeah, having some assets other than very volatile assets can make sense. Like, I'm considering it, but I've not pulled the trigger yet. What I do like, for example, real estate in Kenya, 10% return, yeah, I think that's interesting. That's the same kind of real estate investment than our grandparents had in the West, huh? When capital was scarce, huh? After the World War II, 1950s, 1960s, you know, we still had high interest loans. Then actually you can't also borrow money, huh? In Kenya you pay 13% interest for real estate loans. That's why real estate gives you 10% rental income, because capital is scarce, huh? Okay, that's a whole other environment where your capital actually gives you a return because capital is scarce. That's not the case in the West, huh? Capital is abundant, huh? So then real estate is not a good investment, huh? But where capital is scarce, then yeah, real estate can still be a good investment, huh? So that I do find interesting. Um, yeah, I think I have to do a show on Zano also because yeah, I think it's the only opportunity I see in crypto, but that I take. Huh? There are many more probably, but I've not studied them or I don't see them. But Zano, I think, is still an opportunity. Roger Ver got me into that because he started talking about that, and yeah, that's a lot. Huh? Roger Ver. It was very interesting to see the interview with Tucker Carlson. A big win for Roger Ver that he was able to do an interview with Tucker Carlson. And he also dropped Zano as a solution, because Tucker Carlson made a very good remark. Yeah, what's going on with these cryptos? Bitcoin was the promise that you have privacy, but that's not really the case, says Tucker. And yeah, Roger says, yeah, but you do have good privacy solutions now. But yeah, we all thought Bitcoin was private at the time, but that turned out not to be really the case. But now you have privacy coins like Zano and Monero, and that's much more private. And yeah, sometimes it's a simple story that sells, and it's also like you need to keep things simple. And many Bitcoin Cash people, some Bitcoin Cash people say, yeah, but Bitcoin Cash also has privacy. Yeah, but it's too complex. If you have to start mixing coins yourself to get privacy, people don't do that. And that doesn't mean Zano is going to become a winner. I've invested in other coins that were built well and simple to use, like Byteball at the time, now Obyte. They had a really nice phone app wallet, but yeah, it never took off because of other reasons. And nothing is a sure thing, but I think Zano does have a good chance to go up in value considerably from where it's today. It's 200 million. But I think it can go to 10 billion, or 2 billion. That's still a 10x. Like Bitcoin Cash is worth 10 billion. Monero is worth 5 billion. I mean, yeah, these are fair valuations for sure for these coins, I believe. Bitcoin BTC worth 2 trillion is absurd. That's not reasonable at all. Like, that's extreme high valuation. But Bitcoin Cash or Zano, these are reasonable valuations, and they have upside potential. So get some Zano, and I should show and distribute some Zano. But I will distribute here. You can paste your Zano address. Just download the app on your phone or on your laptop, and share your Zano address, and I will send you some Zano. The nice thing about Zano, what Roger Ver really liked about it, is that you have assets also, and that's true. Like privacy coins we already have, but not privacy coins with assets. You can just launch your own asset, and it's also a private asset. You can send the asset to other people, and such as a stock. You can launch a stock or something, and you can send it to other people, and you own it in privacy. You transact this asset in privacy, and of course, stable coins are popular. People don't like volatility from cryptos, but they end up using lots of stable coins. But the problem is also no privacy. But if you do stable coins on Zano, you're sending them private to each other. That's something that Monero does not have. And that's really genius insight of Roger, is that that's where the future lays. People want crypto, but they actually want it for privacy reasons. Not only for speed, but also for privacy. And that's lacking currently. And in the whole Ethereum network, and all these stable coins, there's no privacy, and that will come back to bite. Like these tax agencies, they will for the next few years people will be surprised. and will want more privacy. Warfield is asking, how's your private life with the girls in the European Union? Because isn't polygamy misunderstood there? What rules do you set up for girls? Do they have their separate space or everyone is spending their time together? So each has their own home indeed, and yeah, polygamy is not part of the culture in Europe, though actually the way it works in the West is actually polygamy has been part of the culture, but only for the top, only for the kings, and that they can have over time. In the past, the kings can have mistresses, or landlords. Powerful people can have basically they have a main chick, the queen, but then there are also some extra concubines or mistresses, and that's it's part of the culture, but only on that level, and the common man needs to stick to one woman, but of course the big problem in Europe is that the way women are raised is indeed that they, and that you see that also in Africa now, like they're considered that polygamy is bad, and so they push each other and put pressure on each other. You should never accept it. I would never accept that. And so there is a stigma on that, same as being a housewife these days. Oh, hey, then you're low life, you're at the bottom of the hierarchy, and you should do more for yourself. There's the same with polygamy. A woman that accepts that, all other women will tell her that they could never do that, and how can you do that? So that's what's happening with my woman also. They each have their own house, own place, but we go together, but we hang out together, we do activities together, but they each have their own place, and we do holidays together, but we're a family, and we see each other often, and they live close to each other, and I change homes. But yeah, that's a costly way to do it. Cheaper ways, they live together, and also it's nice, but the women don't want that, because of course they want something as close to monogamy as possible, because that's accepted, and they want to be accepted, and so they want to, and also the dream they've projected in stories, Disney stories, and you don't see a polygamous marriage there, you see a monogamous marriage. And so yeah, it's easier to make them happy if they have their own place. Yeah, let's take a look here. Not it. What rules I set up for the girls is that they need to help each other, support each other, be nice to each other, and I constantly work on that. Warfield is asking, do you have some prenup agreements with them, or it's okay to just use your word and no marriage? Yes, I don't do marriage, and so there is no prenup agreement, but I do offer them financial security by giving them financial gifts that allows them to build something on their own name, like buy a real estate or invest in some crypto, and that way they build something for themselves in case that I would dump them, that they have something for themselves, or I would die, and I think that's the essence of marriage also. Like in marriage, you need to give a security to the woman. It was made. It's an institution to make the man, to not allow the man to leave easily after he impregnates a woman. That's the point of it. And it's a social construct and a legal construct to bind the man, to pin him down. But you can also achieve that kind of financial security by just gifting them money on their own name. Or there are other solutions